tech workers are getting leg lengthening surgery that costs up to $150,000. Like, this is such a crazy thing that is happening. I mean, like, can you imagine spending six figures to try to lengthen your legs to be taller? Now, the thing is, I have not read this article, but typically leg lengthening is pretty much where you basically break your bones in your legs and then like basically re-heal them to like straighten it. Like it's a very, very severe tactic to try to get taller. And you're going to spend $150,000 to do this. Like this is such a crazy amount of money. Personally, I'd rather put that into the S&P 500, pretty much double that money within like 10 years and have like 300k, right? Or put that into a home. Because there's some places in the country where you could literally buy a home for $150,000 or put that as a down payment for a really nice house, right? That's what I would do. I certainly wouldn't spend $150,000 to try to get taller. But a lot of people might have like a lot of self esteem issues regarding their height. So let's get right into this story. Self conscious tech workers are reportedly taking extreme measures to add a few inches to their height by forking over six-figure payments for painful leg lengthening operations. Kevin Debrechard Debbie Parchard, the head of the Nevada based LimPlast X Institute, said workers from the tech sector comprised a significant chunk of his patients for the cosmetic surgical procedure. The operation reportedly cost $70,000 to $150,000, depending on how many inches the patient wants to grow, as well as thousands of dollars more in follow up costs, GQ reported. Like, think about it like this, right? Technically speaking, you could pretty much have like 10 patients, 10 clients, and literally make $1 million. How crazy is that? I joke that I could open a tech company, Debbie Parchard told GQ. I got like 20 software engineers doing this procedure right now who are here in Vegas. There was a girl yesterday from PayPal. Wait, why would a girl want to get taller and spend that much amount of money? That's so crazy. I've got patients from Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft. I've had multiple patients from Microsoft. But see, here's the thing, right? How much money do you have, or how much money are you making to even remotely justify this amount of money that you're spending to get taller? Okay? Like this isn't something that you can like go and like sell back at like a loss or whatever, right? This is like you spend 70 to $150,000 plus and you never get that money back. Period. Okay? Like it's like you're basically got like it's basically like you got 150 grand in your hands and you light it on fire. That is what's happening. The leg lengthening process requires a painful procedure in which a doctor, yeah, breaks the femur in each of the patient's legs and inserts extendable metal nails. The nails are gradually extended over the next 3 months by 1 millimeter a day, eventually making the recovered patient several inches taller. And the thing is, I think people have even, I think, gone like 4 to 6 inches taller with this thing, I believe. It's been a while. So the surgery also carries a lengthy recovery process that includes relentless pain that stretches the nerves, muscle, and tissue of the legs to an almost excruciating degree, according to GQ's report. One customer, identified as a 23-year-old Chicago based software engineer named Alan, said he underwent the procedure after developing a deep insecurity about his height. A girl who he had a super big crush on, like, roasted me for it. Oh, dude. No. No. Dude, you gotta be kidding me. You did this because a girl insulted you? You did this because, oh man, that is so bad. You never want to do stuff like this because of what someone else says. Like, if you wanted to just get taller because you felt like you wanted to get taller, then you probably wouldn't face that many issues with this in terms of like recovery, all that kind of stuff, right? Because it's just something that you want, right? But you doing it because of a reaction, like it's like a reaction to what happened to you, that's usually never going to end well. And he spent 3 months recovering from the procedure and went from 5'6" to 5'9", so only 3 inches. But what's funny though, I feel bad for him because the sad reality, that same girl probably would still make fun of him at 5'9". That same type of girl would still make fun of him at 5'9". There are so many videos out there that exist of girls that say 6 foot is the cutoff, 5'11" is the cutoff, right? If you're not as tall as that or taller, no chance. There's so many different videos of girls talking about that, right? And some of these girls are like 5'1", 4'10", 5'4", right? Which means like these people would be like him at these heights would actually be basically towering over them. And yet, that's still not tall enough for them. Sad. And the thing is, the problem, the biggest problem that I see with people spending their money like this on something that is cosmetic, right? And the same thing could be said with fake, you know, boobs, right? The reality is that after you spend the money, after you recover from getting basically beat up from this procedure, you are still stuck with yourself. That is the biggest issue with spending money on things that are cosmetic, right? Because it doesn't really change who you are. It just changes kinda what you look like. So another patient, a New York-based options trader named Brian, also indicated he got the operation to improve his romantic life. See, this is so sad, right? Like, you should not be having to literally cut yourself up, break your bones, just so that you could end up having a better dating life. Like, that is a really depressing situation. And I hope anyone that ends up stumbling upon this, if you're facing insecurities about your height, please don't do something like this. This is so dangerous. You're going to have so much pain. You might end up getting addicted to opiates. So it's just like, be so careful. Talk to someone because this is not the route to go. A lot of times I would get rejected, Brian told the outlet. I was like swinging 100 and like connecting with 4 or 5. The standard operation adds about 3 inches of height, but patients can add up to 6 inches if they are willing to have the same surgical nails implanted in their tibias. Cash strapped customers are allowed to cover the cost in installments. Oh my god. Oh my god. So you're also going to be having people go into debt for this. Imagine going into $150,000 plus in debt just to add 3 to 6 inches in height. And You're going to be dealing with the pain. You might end up getting hooked onto painkillers, and you're still stuck with yourself. So, despite its painful physical and financial effects, Debbie Parchard said his clinic has no shortage of patients. And the thing is, I'm not actually even really that surprised, truthfully, right? Even though I'm complaining about it, I'm honestly not that surprised that people are willing to do this because if you're a guy and you're below 5'11", it's going to be a lot harder for you to find any girl, which is a sad, sad situation. Because if you're not even able to communicate at all, and you're short, and you got no money, it's gonna be hard. The Harvard educated surgeon said patient counts have effectively doubled since remote work came to the fore during the COVID-19 pandemic. W. Burchard claimed up to 50 patients per month visit his offices. The roster of patients isn't limited to the tech sector. W. Burchard told GQ he has performed the procedures on CEOs, actors, physicians, a nurse, a YouTube star, and even a news anchor. Wow. The patients are often, but not always, wealthy and share a desire to feel better about themselves. See, this is the thing. If you're wealthy and you could afford to do something like this and it will have literally no financial impact on yourself, I say if you want to go do it, go ahead. If you have to get into debt to do something like this, do not do this. It is so financially stupid to do something like this if you cannot afford it, right? This is a super expensive procedure with a lot of potential after effects, side effects, and yet if you try to do this just so that you can have some better game potentially or feel slightly better by yourself but you still can't fund it, it's a bad route to take. So a lot of patients see it as an investment in themselves and not necessarily romantically. Mainly it's going to be romantically. Debbie Burchard said, stature is such an important part, I think, of who you are and how you perceive the world and how the world perceives you. Being able to alter that is so impactful. And the thing is, like, I understand, like, this statement, right? Stature is such an important part, I think, of who you are. The reality is, people are going to judge you first time they see you. So if you're like a 6'4" dude that's lean, that looks pretty good in the face, you're probably going to be perceived in a better light than someone who is 5'6", slightly overweight, doesn't really have that good of a face, and you could end up having basically the same skill set, but the guy who's taller and looks better, objectively speaking, would probably get away with a lot more things than the other individual. Like, that's the reality, and it's sad. Feel free to give your thoughts on this. If you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40mbox.com or go down below and learn how I got out of debt and grew my net worth. And the thing is, please never do something like this for another person. If you want to do something like this, if you want to spend a disgusting amount of money to try to add a few inches, do it when you are financially capable of doing it in the sense that it will literally not have any impact on your financial situation. So, for example, if I were to do this, which I wouldn't because I'm tall, if I were to do this to add a few inches, the only time that I would be willing to do something like this would be if I could pay for it in cash. And also make sure that I have a really good emergency fund, that I have basically a paid off house or condo, have one or two paid off cars as well, have a really thick investment portfolio. So I'm thinking like maybe like $1 million in my investment portfolio, probably like in the S&P 500. At that point, I would be willing to do something like this. Financially speaking, I would be okay, right? But other than that, I cannot see anyone doing this and it being an okay financial decision. Like if you go into debt for something like this, and let's say that you only gain an inch. And by the way, keep this in mind. Half the time, if you're short, or even if you're not short and you just want to get taller, you could put things in your shoes to add literally 1 to 3 inches to your height. And people would barely even notice. Or you could just literally like wear boots. Like, the hiking boots, combat boots, that sort of thing. That would literally add like 1 to 2 inches to your height, which might be enough to literally have you be seen a little bit better, right? It might give you a little bit more of a better self perception of yourself. But yeah, please never do this. Whew, Lord.